Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 1. In the last episode, two major things occurred. The first is we learned the existence of a former club member of Keiichi's group of friends known as Satoshi, and the circumstances behind his disappearance are rather mysterious. Because we tried to find out more about him when we last talked to our police detective friend over the phone, but, well, all we know is that he disappeared sometime shortly before I arrived a few months before I arrived in town, if memory serves. And nobody really knows where he went to. Second, Rena is now voicing and expressing her suspicions towards Keiichi, after he made his own suspicions towards Rena and the rest of their group known when on their way home, he flat out asked her, "Are you guys hiding something from me?" She did not take too kindly to that, to say the least. In fact, the whole encounter from that point onward turned kind of unsettling. And from that point on, well, it seems as though she's now developed some sort of tendency towards stalking us. Because right before the last episode ended, after I had my last phone conversation with the police detective about some of the weird things that I've discovered, along with Satoshi's existence, Keiichi's parents revealed that Rena had come over to visit sometime while Keiichi was on the phone with the detective, and that she very likely was outside his bedroom door listening in on their entire conversation, and left before Keiichi could see her leave. So, yeah, both me and Keiichi are starting to grow kind of fearful for Keiichi's life at the moment. For good reason. Especially given in light of all the other crazy crap that's recently happened. Especially with Tomotaki and his rather gruesome demise. Now, what Keiichi is going to do about this? Well, I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it's going to involve not telling his parents, hey, there seems to be something strange going on with this town. Maybe we should, I don't know, put deadbolts on the doors or something. Or, consider leaving if things continue to get worse from there. But yeah, I highly doubt it's going to happen. Anyway, I think that pretty much sums up everything, the gist of the last episode. So we might as well just go ahead and see what the hell is going to happen today. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Keiichi, you don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination, and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? Under ordinary circumstances, maybe not, but considering who, your friends are, that may not be such a good idea. Especially as far as Rena is concerned. It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Somebody's at the door. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Oh shit. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Okay, let's weigh our options here. I take the day off at school. That will most likely raise Rena's suspicions of Keiichi even further, and may lead to more bad things occurring shortly thereafter. I go to school with her, most likely alone through most of the trip to said school. It'll be a very tense walk. Something may happen that'll raise tensions further, like maybe Keiichi says the wrong thing at the wrong time, or maybe not say anything at all at the wrong time, and things will just get worse anyway. Way I see it, maybe my best option really would be to go with Rena, just for the slight possibility that maybe Keiichi could handle himself in a way that will at least delay, well, Rena's growing suspicion of him. Whereas by contrast, if I do stay home, it would undoubtedly result in that no matter what. But again, I gotta keep reminding myself, this is not a standard visual novel I'm playing. This is a Connect novel. My input means jack shit with this. I just gotta sit by and hope for sit around, watch what happens, and hope for the best. Rena was a good girl. I'm not so sure anymore. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. Not anymore to me. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? Well, I don't know. Maybe, you know, your entire day with her yesterday, especially the later half, and the behavior that she's displayed towards you, and the fact that she most likely, you know, stood right outside your door and listened in on your private conversation with a police detective. Yeah, like, come on. I think you got plenty of reason to be at least a little bit concerned for your well-being around Rena. I know I would be. It wasn't Rena's fault. I disagree. It was probably mine. I still disagree. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. Colds don't make you, Colds, last I checked, don't make you hallucinate to your best friend, your school friends, yeah, they don't result in you hallucinating your school friends having, psychotic tendencies and outbursts. Just saying. I'll rest. Sorry. Your funeral. Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I'd only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. Oh, great. So you're all alone now. Lovely. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably come back sometime after dinner. On the note, it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Normally I'd never be here, in the middle of a weekday, and I bet Rena is just waiting right beside the nearest corner for me, right? Ready to ask me, "Hey, are you feeling okay?" Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital's sign came into view. Irie Clinic, at least I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced, was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. "Mibara-san, please make your way to the examination room." After properly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought I was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I've been having lately, then it was worth it. I don't know, I think a shot is kind of excessive if it's just a simple cold. I wonder if I should be concerned about that. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, but you did it anyway, right? If it just wasn't for that word. Must have been an onikakushi. I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. Tomitaki and the woman that was with him, I presume. That young one with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? Were they talking about Tomitaki-san? Well, I don't know anyone else who visits every season, and yeah, comes with a camera. I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. Is that her name? She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san. That woman with Tomitaki-san. And she worked at this clinic. Uyeshiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Uyeshiro-sama's shadow. But of course. Ooishi-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Then maybe you should get out. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street, and I bet Rena is definitely going to be waiting for us now. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Oh, hey, how you doing? Mibara-san, good day to you. It was Ooshi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway. And I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Ooshi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. Well, I say that's pretty smart. I went to Ooishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me but by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This is where Tomotaki-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomotaki-san. Ooshi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. You're very observant, knowing what he was thinking. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind. But we didn't find any leads. So no hallucinogens. So it had to have been something else. Either sheer mental instability brought on by paranoia that probably resulted from his attack. That's one theory I got. Or two, some kind of virus. Now I have no idea what kind of virus could cause something like this to happen. But I'm just pulling out possibilities as unlikely as they seem out of my head. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, for all I know, maybe Tomotaki-san was always insane. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that, if you put it in them, It doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Susan alcohol? I don't think I'm gonna say this right. Something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomotaki-san to react like that. Then, you're saying the police conclude Tomotaki-san just died from the curse. Yeah, I guess that's also a third option I really should have considered. Maybe it really is a curse. I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Tomotaki-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. So then it just begs the question, did this group of people that assaulted him have anything to do with his hysteric fit that caused him to claw out his own throat? That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa, train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Ooshi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please. Non-smoking. This way, please. When you are ready to order, please call me over. When we were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Ooshi-san in the booth. So what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? I wouldn't know. I can't see shit. Huh? Well, I guess? The shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Ooshi-san, you're leering. Am I really? Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Ooshi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday, we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah. That it was the village of man-eating demons, or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Ooshi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onigafuchi. That's quite the name. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It is said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were signing, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the ogre's abyss and healing them. For example, even if we are calling them demons, Tengu long-nosed goblins, or seinen, would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, "Let us eat the mother who brought him here," was apparently how things went. That's a bit morbid. And also, we got a bit of equivalent exchange going on, huh? Give up a life to save a life. The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onikafuchi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. I could understand trying to round up the mother and son, but the whole village? It's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. But what about the rest of the village? What happened to it? There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in this story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Also, good point. Huh? There are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Ooishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onikafuchi band together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Okay, yeah, people or entities coming together for a common cause. That does not necessarily equate to their being correlated to one another. People gather up for protests, for unions, for events, all kinds of things all the time. Normally they hunted down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Let me guess. As some kind of sacrifice to Uyashiro-sama? Ooshi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demons' hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demons' hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities. In other words, what happens if you break the rule? I would think that'd be quite obvious, but why not? Just tell us. Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. If it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die, when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then, Ooshi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes? What do you think, Maibara-san? Well, clearly a group was responsible for attacking Tomotaki-san before he died. So obviously there's more than one perpetrator involved with whatever is going on in this town. Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Ooshi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maibara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay? A background checking done on them. And what'd you find? If Ooshi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Shoot. Maibara-san, if you feel that stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Again, shoot. Humor me. Ooshi-san was wearing the most serious expression I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. I wonder what the hell you're gonna tell me. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Ooshi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Ooshi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. With Mion? Multiple altercations. Ooshi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Huju-san? Wait. The Satoko in my group? Huh? Satoko meaning... Satoko? Ooshi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well, and quickly quieted down. Yeah, I wasn't just imagining it. I think that last... Huju-san. Yeah, I wasn't imagining it. I know I heard that name, the last name before. And it's also the same last name as Satoshi, right? Which makes me wonder, are Satoshi and Satoko related to each other? Cousin? Siblings? The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the 3rd year. You see, their daughter is Rika Furude-san. Interesting. So, with the first 3 years, somebody connected to my group of friends had a relative of theirs. Yes. 3 people in my group within the first 3 years was somehow involved, directly or indirectly, with each incident that occurred around the festival each year. Right after the first incident, right before the first incident with the damn forerunner occurred. Mion had altercations with the guy himself before he died. Parents of Satoko's... No, wait a minute, let me read the log so I don't mess anything up. 2nd year, married couple support the project died, and apparently that was Satoko's parents. And for the 3rd year, we got the Shinto priests who died, and they were Rika's parents. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the 4th year. You know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Huju-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. Interesting, though, how the children of all the families who were related in these deaths are all friends together in this club at school. And I'm willing to bet that these incidents are exactly the reasons why they found and befriended each other. Because they all seemingly lost something important to them as a result of a possible curse. Fascinating. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident. One that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared the 4th year, by the way. He was Satoko-san's older brother. Satoshi, right? I knew it. What? Wait, just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi, my bara. But Ooishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. It would certainly seem that way, wouldn't it? That has to be just a coincidence. You don't really believe that, do you, Keiichi? I sure shit don't. Mbara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion. Satoko. Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all my friends had apparently lost people as a result of Urashiro-sama's curse. Couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rena is different, isn't she? Yeah, that is a good question. What exactly is her connection to the rest of the group? She hasn't lived here too terribly long, last I checked. And as far as I'm aware, she hasn't lost any relatives as a result of this curse. So what is she doing here among this group? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all. Rena Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all the windows. I wonder why. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same silly Rena had? I couldn't even imagine it. At this point, I certainly can. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. I never heard of that condition before. In fact, I'm going to look it up real fast. Looking at Wikipedia's entry on it, take this source for what you will. Dysautonomia, or autonomic dysfunction, is a condition in which the autonomic nervous system, ANS, does not work properly. This may affect the functioning of the heart, bladder, intestines, sweat glands, pupils, and blood vessels. Dysautonomia has many causes, not all of which may be classified as neuropathic. A number of conditions can feature dysautonomia, such as Parkinson's disease, HIV and AIDS, multiple system atrophy, autonomic failure, postural orthostatic trachea syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I hate pronouncing all these different syndrome names. Such tongue twisters. Autoimmune autonomic ganglionopathy and autonomic neuropathy. Okay, signs and symptoms. I'm not going to read the whole thing, don't worry. The symptoms of dysautonomia, which are numerous and vary widely for each individual, are due to inefficient or unbalanced efferent signals sent to via both systems. The primary symptoms in individuals with dysautonomia include anhidrosis, anxiety, blurry or double vision, bowel incontinence, brain fog, constipation, dizziness, difficulty swallowing, exercise intolerance, chronic fatigue, insomnia, low blood pressure, orthostatic hypotension, syncope, trachycardia, tunnel vision, urinary incontinence or urinary retention, vertigo, and weakness. Neurological disorder, huh? And just seems to just basically screw around with, your brain's ability to process information to the rest of the body, and just, perception upstairs. To put it very succinctly. So she may have a whole host of issues then as a result of this thing. She was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing personality. Well, maybe it's a front. The easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit at that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. So she was diagnosed with this neurological disorder, and during all the interviews that she had with her counselor, she would bring up Oyashiro-sama. But this was well before she moved to Hinamizawa. Did she hear about Hinamizawa and its guardian deity at some point prior to her moving there? Or is it something else? I felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night. Standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. That's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to their residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. Rena-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. So she was born here then, huh? My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the stack you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Okay, so Rena is a native to Hinamizawa, but that does not necessarily equate. Well, not quite. That doesn't necessarily explain her connection to the rest of the club. Because, again, last I checked, unless we're missing some vital information that you're going to tell us right within the next minute or two, last I checked, nobody that's a relative of hers died as a result of the supposed curse. Maibara-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Rena. Then, how about the last victim, Tomotaki-san? Who is he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Are you talking about when he attended the festival with us? With all of us? Have you forgotten, Maibara-san? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. So, are you suggesting that Tomotaki was killed because he spent the night of the festival with the rest of the group? Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Ah, Maibara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Ooshi-san said that. I got another glass of water, and we left the shop after I chugged it down. So, we have no concrete evidence proving one way or proving or disproving that Tomitaki was killed as a result of spending the festival with the rest of my group for that night. But let's just say for the sake of argument that he was. That leads to two possible groups in my mind that could have attacked him right after everybody left home after the festival concluded. Number one, it was either Keiichi's friends themselves who attacked the guy, or number two, some other group of people saw, and there were people that were some other group of people that saw him basically playing games with our group, saw him doing that, didn't like it one bit, and decided to ambush him after the festival was concluded. And considering that there were a lot of spectators to some of the events and games that we played right before the main festival started, like that little game that everybody played to try and shoot and get prizes, that's also a distinct possibility. But I have a feeling that the answer that we're likely going to end up with is the former one instead of the latter. I should probably be very nervous going to club meetings from now on. Maybe. Just maybe. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. But dump. That big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitaki-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? You might not want to drop him off at his house, because for all I know, Colonel Sanders could be standing watch for Rena, and the minute that he sees Keiichi walk out of your car, Colonel Sanders will telepathically report what he sees to Rena, and then Rena will pop up out of nowhere and, I don't know, confront us about our latest visit with you. My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Billy just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. Not that! Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Ooshi-san was investigating a string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Ooshi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Ooshi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Ooshi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. Well, you are, it would seem, so yeah, I guess I could understand that. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Ooshi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Ooshi-san didn't really give a response. Well, that's speaking volumes to me right now. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Nibara-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? Well, yeah. Given everything that we know now, every single person in the club is a native from Hinamizawa, and likely tied to what happened to the victims in the curse in some fashion or another, including Rena. You, on the other hand, Keiichi, unless you had some distant relatives that were natives to this place at some point, you are well and truly an outsider along with your parents. You're the black sheep of the group. I want to reply with, that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. So I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in this string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again, or so I was told. But that's not true. Very few of the cases were actually solved, last I checked. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. You've arrived. Are you saying that somebody from Hinamizawa is pressuring your precinct to get you to stop your investigation? Then there's definitely for sure some kind of conspiracy going on, if that's true. Is this fine? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today. Honestly, I really can't. Definitely not. For all I know, this information could save Keiichi's life. But I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Orishima-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Nibara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Ooshi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. And I really hope for this kid's sake that you're telling him the truth. Otherwise, Keiichi really is all alone in this. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Ooshi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. And I was just a bait dangling off the line. If you want to be uncharitable about how you interpret all this, yes, I guess that's a valid interpretation. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Orishiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it. For some reason, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Every single member of the club, sans Keiichi, is somehow connected in some way or another to the supposed curse. Keiichi isn't a native to this place, nor is his family, as far as I'm aware. He's well and truly an outsider. If the whole paranoid theory that people within the village are conspiring to essentially sacrifice or kill people as a part of this supposed curse, and are getting to the point where they're being more and more indiscriminate about who they choose, from just targeting people connected to the dam project to just anyone who's perceived as an outsider, then yeah, Keiichi may very well be in danger here. But now that I'm stopping and thinking about it, earlier I suggested that one of the possible groups that attacked Tomitaki could have been, well, Keiichi's friends, since they were all connected in some way, shape, or form to both Hinamizawa and the curse. But now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Because assuming that the only person out of the whole group that's shown any kind of hostility towards me is Rena. All the others were just evasive with me at best. And they're technically victims of the curse. Well, with what happened to all their family members. So why would victims of the curse, who probably came together as a result of their shared losses, conspire to inflict the same kind of pain on other people, stranger at Hinamizawa or not? And this is assuming that none of them are actually evil. Rena, I'm not sure about, but all the other ones. Again, the worst I can really say about them and how they've treated Keiichi was probably just being evasive about certain topics relating to Hinamizawa. But beyond that, they've been nothing but friendly towards him. I think what I'm going to do is, until I see any evidence suggesting that their motivations for, well, befriending Keiichi and letting him into their group are actually benign, well, or actually malevolent, I'll just assume the best for most of the group, that maybe, just maybe, that their intentions with Keiichi are actually more on the benevolent side. It's just Rena that I have to be wary about, because she seems honestly very unstable. I'm just going to keep playing and see what happens. I can figure out more of what to think about the rest of our friends here, the further along we go, and the more information we get. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is the Maibara residence. Oh, he's alive! Hello, this is Mion. Hey, Mion. How you doing? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi is resting now, but Shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Idiot. You fell for it. Huh? Keiichi-chan! After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? All we've confirmed so far is that they're all indirectly related to the incidents, with the exception of Rena. The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried, you know. Yeah, I can believe it. Satoko-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan then said, how unfortunate he's sick. Heh, looks like everyone's making a big deal out of it. Well, you know. So, Kei-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? What, all of you, or just you? Visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them. So I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry. Both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. Okay, sure. I believe you. See you. Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was so concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion, she might still do something. I wouldn't be so sure that she'll behave just because Mion's around. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. Hey, Mion. How you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Hi, Rena. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry. I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. She may look the part, but is she really? It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made. Rena took out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty. Thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. There's one I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. You check in if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. And what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mi-chan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. You're right. Let's get going. By the way, Kei-chan. Yeah? What did you eat for lunch? Why are you looking at me like that? Should I be genuinely concerned about you too, Mion? The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? You stalked me too, didn't you? You followed him right to the hospital, waited for him to leave, and saw him get picked up by Ooishi-san. Shit. What she said was so inane that it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Ooishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it. So I tried answering as quickly as possible. Somehow I don't think that's gonna help, man. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun. The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Yes, it was actually fairly decent. In fact, I could totally recommend what I ate there to you guys. In fact, why don't you go there tomorrow and just let me rest from club activities for a bit, shall we? I could use a little me time anyway. Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone. Almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. How, though? I think all she could have really seen if she was stalking you was the fact that you were picked up by Ooshi-san and were driven out of town. No. I'm overthinking this. I don't think you are, man. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There's no way they could have known where I was. That's assuming they actually went to school. Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh? Keiichi-kun. Who was he? My great-uncle. Could be the person from before, I wonder. I could feel the back of my throat growing dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How? Do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Neon sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what'd you talk about? Why are you asking me? You just said just a second ago that there's nothing you don't know. Stop wasting my fucking time and just tell me what you think you know. Seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too. Did you? So you know I got worked up over it. Did you actually somehow follow me? We weren't talking about you guys. It had anything to do with you or Rena. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that? Well, you are kind of accusing him of, well, I mean, come on, think about it. You are kind of confronting him about what was supposed to have been a private conversation between him and another individual, as though you're just running an inquisition here. I don't think it's necessarily that strange that, you know, he would tell you, hey, if it's you that you're worried that we were talking about, we weren't talking about you, so chill. But what the fuck do I know? Maybe I just got a different way of thinking about this sort of shit than the average person. Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much, it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide. This old man already sees through it all. Remember that. If you're going to freaking do something for my supposed transgressions against you, just hurry up and do it and get it over with. Don't draw it out. Which is what I would like to say, if I had any semblance of control over this situation, but alas, well, I'm pretty sure Keiichi is going to be quivering in his boots here. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. And you don't look so sane. I think you should lie down. I think you should get out. That's true. We should both head home. I agree. Get the fuck out of my house. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I dropped the package of mochi. If I were you, I wouldn't even touch the mochi. For all I know, they could have freaking stuck poison in it or something. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, setting my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, alright? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. Call Ooishi-san and tell him what happened. You are obviously in fucking danger. Get help! They knew what Ooishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No. That wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard. From the beginning when Ooishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? I think it's pretty obvious. Basically, you keep stepping out of line, you're definitely not gonna like what happens next. And honestly, for all I know, I'm probably way too deep into it already. You're probably screwed no matter what. So you know what? I would just basically give him the metaphorical middle finger, Call the authorities and just explain to them what the hell is going on. Don't let them freaking force you into compliance with whatever the hell they want. Fuck them. Your safety is #1 priority here. That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? Well, I would say pretty much everything that you've been talking about with Ooishi-san. So, yeah. I only talked with Ooishi-san about one thing. And they were warning me that was unnecessary. What was it that Ooishi-san talked to me about? Their connection to the supposed curse. The incidents involving Urashima-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole. As well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No. More precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? I don't see what else they could be warning you against. What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? The exact kind of nonsense that's the only thing that you can really formulate based on all the information that we got, man. I don't really think it's nonsense at all. I hit my own face hard enough that I let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi, my Bara. When did I become such a pessimist? Well, you became a pessimist when it became gradually clear to you that there is something deeply off about this village. And eventually, your friends. Especially your friends. Calm down. Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Ooshi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. So then that just begs the question then, Keiichi. Who was it exactly that was from Hinamizawa that just so happened to be there, right where you and Ooishi-san were having lunch, and why would they go to Mion and report what happened there, what you two might have talked about, to her directly, or her family, or something? Unless you really want to go with the implication that Mion's got spies working for her. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Not really, not to me. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. So you're okay. They don't have any ulterior motives for basically forcing you through an inquisition here, essentially, as to why you were having lunch with a supposed outsider. No, they're just simply screwing with you because they think it's just a funny little prank, bro, right? It's just a prank, bro. That's it. It has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Ooishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. Yeah, I wouldn't call it correcting what she was doing with you on it. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena. I was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. No, it isn't! I think you're trying way too hard to justify your friends' obviously abnormal behavior. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. Well, now there clearly is, so I would be very concerned. Not too concerned to the point where you just drive yourself into an outright panic, like, I don't know, yeah. Why am I drawing a blank on his name right now? I know his name. Tomataki, there we go. I hate when that happens. I really do think they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here, couldn't make heads or tails of everything. They were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender, and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Ooshi-san and Tomataki-san, when I was told about Uyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Ooishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. Well, looks like he's onto something as far as I'm concerned. That's right. It all started getting weirder after Ooshi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. Somehow, Keiichi, I think even if you did just ignore Ooishi-san's stories in his attempts to reach out to you, something was going to happen eventually that would make you notice something very off about your friends, especially considering their current attitude with you. I think the only thing that Ooishi-san is guilty of is just simply speeding up a possible inevitable outcome here. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomataki-san the night of the Watanagashi. If I hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't. If Ooishi-san is right, that you may very well be in danger because you are an outsider to Hinamizawa, then as far as I'm concerned, he's actually doing you a huge favor by letting you know about all the stuff that he's told you. Because with this information, you just might be able to save yourself. That's right. So that's why they killed Tomataki-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably I'm going to assume kill. They'll probably kill Ooshi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that was going to be killed. Both Tomataki-san and Ooishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. And what do you think that says about you, then? By that same line of reasoning, you're fucked. Those guys should have just fall to Urashima-sama's curse and just die! Again, I'm just guessing what the blanked out words here are. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It was nobody's fault, as far as I'm concerned, Keiichi. You are just in the middle of a really bad situation right now. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. You keep telling yourself that, my friend. See where it leads you. That reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. Don't do it, man. I don't trust the mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh. This was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then. They said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There's going to be poison or something nasty in one of these things, isn't there? There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said that her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning, the one Rena had made was this one. E! For a moment I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid, as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. I'm not so sure about that, man. Alright. My tea is ready, too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterward was also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, One would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the assigned factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I only had one bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? What is it, man? I know it's gotta be something bad. Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the beam jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first, I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be a hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. Too short to be hair, thick enough to roll on the tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on one end of it. It's a needle, isn't it? Ah, yes, there was a hole for where thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yep, a needle. I fucking called it. There was something nasty in this thing. Not poison, but still a very nasty surprise indeed. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by it looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew. And let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. Oh, shit. I stuck my finger around the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. A sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth and, after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly evoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. Call Ooshi-san! They stuck a fucking needle in that shit. You are in danger! Call for help! This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Or did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and the others, they consider me an enemy. Well, then the way I see it, this means war. Call the authorities, man. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. You receive new tips. What's a medicine that makes you commit suicide and threat? Yeah. This means war as far as I'm concerned. So I really strongly suggest that you call Ooshi-san and tell him what's going on, man. Before something else happens to you, that will be a lot more lethal than just getting a needle stuck down your gullet. Just saying. Okay, so let's take a look at this one first. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? Well, let's see. The one thing that comes to the top of my mind is a whole host of antidepressant medication. I typically see suicide as a common warning against such things. And there's undoubtedly a bunch of other ones I've seen with similar warnings too, but that's typically the one type of medicine and medication that I typically see associated with suicidal thoughts the most. The stuff that's supposed to not make you depressed, well, yeah. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. That's quite a roundabout response. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly. Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state. Like that? That's not hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state, accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. Seems pretty accurate to what I know of both disorders. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. Well, yeah, if you're in between the two, to where you're not... Yeah, the thing about this is, if you're too depressed, more often than not, you won't have the willpower to actually commit suicide. But if you're depressed enough and are feeling suicidal, but not so much to the point where it just cripples you, then yeah, at that point the risk of suicide is far more likely with the person, because they'll have more willpower to actually commit the deed. Same with bipolar disorder. It's when they go in between mania and severe depression, that in-between state, where they're neither too depressed nor too manic either. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower, and their body moves as they desire. I see. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was Tomotaki bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as though going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomotaki's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid, and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Again, I think that sounds too simple. Especially considering such the extreme reaction that he had to clawing out his own neck, essentially. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl, and that made him go haywire. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. So it's looking to me then that the most likely candidates for Tomataki's behavior towards the end is either some kind of illness that nobody has really come across or discussed yet, or a supernatural curse from the guardian deity of the town. Because I think at this point, I think we can rule out drugs having anything to do with what happened to him. So let's check out this threat. Those guys just now. They had national Diet badges. Then it's prefectural assembly member and city councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The prefectural assembly member and city councilor are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections. While one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly, and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division. Because I'm dumb. There was prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. So basically, Mion's family is pretty much essentially running the village then. Crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. It came to me. That night, when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Did you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. The counselor barked at me when in the police chief's stead. Oh my. Is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness, me. I'm not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomataki's death, actually. Really? If that's true, then there's no problem. So this is the pressure you're facing, huh? There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. That was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. Haven't been doing so well there lately. Haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right after retirement for DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Ooshi-san. Yeah. The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers have to believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Or are you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Susukino. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before your retirement, your bonus, 2 years' salary, would be inflated, and you get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief, but, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. That's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. You'll get it. You're an adult after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually, and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh man. I wonder if I can really repay that loan. Having some financial troubles, are we? Sorry to hear that. As far as I'm concerned, there's no doubt about it at this point. Keiichi is definitely in danger. And if he were smart, he would try to get in contact with Ooishi-san as soon as possible and tell him what's going on. I really hope for his sake that he does just that, and maybe, just maybe, something can be done about this. But my gut instinct is telling me it's not going to be quite that simple. For some reason or another. Call me cynical. But alas, all I can do is hope for the best, and prepare for the worst. Anyway, this thing's been going on for about 2 hours, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut things off here. It's the end of this current chapter anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 1. If you did, if you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I guess I'll see you and whatever other dangerous hijinks we're going to get into next in the next episode. Take care.